Hello everyone, my name is Marty and welcome to my channel. Today I'm participating in Every Bit Counts challenge put on by the host Jessica of Three Rivers Homestead. This challenge runs for the month of August and it's been so much fun. So today I will show you what I've been up to in my kitchen. Went out picking a third time for the elderberries, and oh my gosh, I'm only part way through this lot. I've topped my jar up of the calendulas from the top tray, and as you can see I threw in another tray ready to go to be dried, and yay, last night I stayed up another half hour or so and finished cleaning up these. So I put in 3 more trays. So last night I had 4 trays in the dehydrator and they are dried. Oh my gosh, they're so tiny. Dried and ready to come out. And I have a bowl here cleaned. I think it's enough for 2 trays. I added in one pretty much full tray. And then this one's a partial. This was too much to add into the other tray. It would take longer to dry. So we're just putting that in there. So I have 3 more trays in. So that's pretty good because that was 7 trays from that one picking. So with that, I got 1 1/3 cups. And that's dried. So this is probably about 2.5 cups, I would say, maybe 3 cups before it dried. Probably closer to 3 cups from the 4 trays. So we'll see what we get in the next round. I have my dehydrated elderberries in a jar. I'm putting on a plastic lid because when the alcohol comes in contact with a metal lid, it will erode it or corrode it. So go with plastic, be safe. Now, we don't like vodka in our house, so we are going to use today spiced rum. We've used this before for, you know, when you make a Christmas cake or a fruit cake and you do like a little basting on it, and we've used that before. So what we're going to do today is just pour it over until it covers. There's not a precise measurement with this. They're going to float, so what I would suggest is to take it up and hold it into the light. And do you see that? Okay, so I've actually got a little more than I kind of need in there, but they're going to soak up and sink, and you are going to end up with 1 inch over your elderberries. You are going to put on the lid. I've added a label. Sorry about my handwriting, it's really hard to write on there because it's bumpy, right? Elderberries in spiced rum, August 27, 24, shake daily. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to put this in a cupboard, but you're going to put it in a cool, dark place with a reminder. Maybe set it on your phone to shake it daily. And it would be best to leave it 4 to 6 weeks. Now, the reason why I prefer dehydrated fruit or dehydrated leaves when I'm going to do a tincture is because I worked very hard foraging for those items, and dehydrating them ensures that when I put it into a medium like vodka or spiced rum, you can use vinegar if you cannot tolerate alcohol. When this is done, it will not be spoiled. A lot of people have spent money on, like this here was $34, I believe, here in Canada for 750 mils. And it's a big deal to go out and purchase something like this. It's only once or twice a year that I do it. And I'm almost out of my little bottle that I had for my fruitcakes. So I bit the bullet, did without a few things, and I purchased this just so that I could have it for my elderberries. But you risk spoilage if you use fresh ingredients that have not been dried, and I mean dried as in dehydrated. So very important to dehydrate. That way you can ensure the moisture is not going to be in there, and that's going to be the culprit sitting in there with the product in whatever liquid medium you have. So set yourself up for success. I'm not a doctor. I am not prescribing. I'm not telling you what to do. This is what I do in my kitchen. This is what I do for myself. Do your research. I highly encourage to do your research on elderberries, on tinctures. My medical disclaimer is, you do is of your choice. I am not telling you what to do. I am just showing you something that you might find interesting. Now, moving forward, what I like to do when I strain out the berries, which is what you want to do when you do your tinctures, right? Then I take the berries that are soaked in, say, the spice rum or whatever it is, and I will put it in a cake, or I'll put it in muffins. Use it. It's valuable. It has intense flavor. Every bit does count. Don't throw this out. You can use it and put it into something amazing. Now, if you don't have berries that are dehydrated and have been soaked in a tincture that you're going to repurpose into a yummy baked good or a pancake or a syrup or something, you can certainly use fresh berries. And I measured out half a cup of fresh elderberries. I put in about 1/4 to 1/3 cup of water and a couple of heaping teaspoons of white sugar. You can use brown if you'd like. I cooked it on low and stirring it, and it basically made kind of like a jam when it reduced. But what you are doing is drawing out the juices, and you can certainly mash it with a potato masher while it's in there. I did that before. And right now this is off the stove and cooling. You do need to cook your elderberries for at least 20-30 minutes before putting it into this cake, and it'll further cook your elderberries when it is in the oven. So the first item you're going to need in this recipe is melted butter, and you're going to need 3 tablespoons, okay? And then you're going to stir in half a cup of white sugar. You can use brown if you prefer. So I'm just going to give that a little stir. I have melted the butter and it was sitting there cooling. So I'm just going to do this. I am going to do the quick method. You can certainly do this in your mixer, but because it's such a small recipe, we're doing an 8x8 pan. You can just certainly do it like this. Then add in 2 eggs that have been beaten and stir that in. And I apologize, my nails are stained from the elderberries today. I spent a couple hours picking them, and I've been sorting them for about an hour and a half now, and after this recipe I'll be doing more. But they're working hands, they're very clean. So just, there you go. And that's mixed up. So at this point I do like to add in the vanilla. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. There's just something about that little splash of vanilla that kind of brings the flavors all together, kind of like melds them together. Now your next liquid that you will add in, because I like to do all the liquids first, I'm using sour cream in this. You can use a vegan sour cream, which is enjoyable, or a regular sour cream of any fat content, 0, 1%, 14, whatever your heart desires, you can put that in this recipe. Now when you're baking and we've added in the vanilla, that gives it like a decadent kind of flavor, right? We added in sugar, which gives you that other sweet flavor. You also need a little bit of salt. It's for the structure of the cells of the flour and the cake rising. But it also enhances your flavors. So you can use half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon. I used half. Now I'm going to add in 2 cups of flour. So there's 1. And I'm just going to add in the 2nd cup. Now the key to this type of cake, do not overwork it. It's not a box cake. You want it to just barely mix and you stop. Moisture will still go through it. I have already pre-buttered my, I think it's an 8 by 9 inch pan or a 7 by 9 inch pan. An 8 by 8 would work good too. Or if you want to use a rectangular pan, certainly double the recipe. This would also be perfect for a loaf pan as well. Now you're just going to take your prepared fruit. It can be anything. It can be raspberries, strawberries. We were just showing you an example what to use up. I just wanted to do this video for fun to show you what you can do with your leftover item from a tincture. Now part 2 of this recipe is the topping. You're going to need half a cup of butter that was melted. So we will just put that in there. Then you will need to add in brown sugar. Now, I do not have brown sugar in my house anymore. I haven't for probably, I guess it's going on a year now. Yay. So I'm going to put a little splash of molasses in here, because I'm going to add in white sugar, and white sugar and molasses makes brown sugar. Now I only need half a cup of brown sugar, and this would be enough to give it that brown sugar flavor. And you need to add in half a cup of flour. Now I do have a 1 cup measure. My other measure cup is in the sink. I'm going to eyeball that. So it was basically half. It's a streusel. It's not going to be a life or death in baking. And you're going to need up to half a cup of sugar. So you might as well just put it on top there. Save yourself, the work of washing another item. You also need to add in half a teaspoon of cinnamon. And my utensil of choice is a fork, because it'll end up being crumbly. I'm sorry, I'm making a little bit of noise there. And it's coming together nicely. And the reason I use a fork is because I like to press it as I'm mixing it against the side of the bowl. See how it squeezes through the tines? And it works amazing. And you can tell by doing that. I've done it for so many years. I feel like I truly do not measure things. It's a learning curve for me to actually have to slow down and measure out things for you. And there you are. You have a streusel. And you need it crumbly like this. And if it's not quite as crumbly as you like, then add a little bit more of, say, the molasses. That would work. Or a little bit more of the melted butter. And If it's a little too damp, then you can certainly add in a little bit of flour. Also with this recipe, something that would be nice would be a little bit of, say, coconut in the streusel part of it. That would be lovely. It's pretty much whatever is in your cabinets. So I'm going to continue on. So I chase the crumble out to the corners, and now I'm going to pop it into the oven. I would bake it in a regular oven at 325 if it was a metal pan. I'm using a glass pan today, and if you are using, say, cast iron, treat it the same. Reduce your temperature even more. So I'm going to take it down to 300. I am not in a hurry to bake this. Pop it in there, and I'm going to have a peek at it at about 15 minutes because it is a thin cake. Like I said, you can double it if you choose to, but I wanted to, you know, just to have a nice little low cake to have with coffee or tea. Well, thank you for joining me in my kitchen today, and if you haven't already, hit like on the way out or subscribe. That would really help out my channel, or to share it with your friends. Today I wanted to show you what I like to do with the elderberries. There's lots of things you can do with them, and like I said, do your research. You make your own decisions. And I'm sitting here waiting for the cake to come out of the oven, and I'll pop that into the last part of this video so you get to see what it looks like. Well, I'm going to go now. I think the timer is going to go off any second now. So the last 3 trays of that load are done. And dehydrating elderberries. Do your research. Look it up how to do it. Each site will tell you a different temperature. I do it on 140. It's personal preference. You could do it like 130, 135, 140. They say. So again, do your research. Guys, I wish you could smell what I'm smelling in this kitchen. It is just amazing. Now, this is a streusel topping, so you're going to get a little bit of dampness as you pull up. But see, the bottom's dry. And what I did was I checked it at 15 minutes. Like I said, I used a glass pan. And 15 minutes, it was a little soft still. You could see it was sunken in this area. And when I used the toothpick method to test it, it came out damp. I turned the oven off. Guys, you do not have to keep your oven on till the end when you're baking a cake. Those last few minutes, if your oven's on, is crucial. You can burn it. You can burn the corners. And I'm going to show you glass pan, and this cake is perfection. Look at that. Perfect. And all it took was 5 minutes in there with the oven off, and it finished it off. But if you do leave it on, remember that burner part's going to kick on, and that's what burns your cakes. Especially if they have a bit of jam or something drizzled through the cake. And if you have a streusel topping. So you're looking at sugar on top as well. So I have here just over half a cup of dried elderberries. And they look like dried peppercorns. So for safekeeping, dehydrated. And I think I'm going to pop this in the freezer and put it in a gallon heavy freezer bag to protect it because I have more in my sink that I need to. And look at the crumb. It's a beautiful crumb. That's because it wasn't over mixed. And look at that. Just gorgeous. Oh my. Okay. That is so good. And right now, I kid you not, a scoop of ice cream on the side would be perfection. And tomorrow, with this being cold, it's still going to taste just as good. Nice, easy recipe.